Close flight dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
Save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. On the show tonight, Summer League is right around the corner, as is Team USA basketball and Australian basketball, though not for long it seems. And we'll wrap with the latest NBA free agency activity, and make sure you stick around to the end because we've got some new details that have emerged about the sale of the Boston Celtics. Alongside me, as always, two legends, Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg. Happy Summer League, guys. How we doing?
Happy Summer League. Yeah. We're almost there. I'm very excited to preview something that we're going to be at live in single-digit days.
Yeah, we're just like playing it by ear, man. We're just going off the cuff out there right now. I mean, we've got some tentative plans, I think, but we're going to be making content. We're going to be having fun. Hopefully we run into some random people that we can kind of track down and talk to, but we'll see. I'm very, very excited. Frankly, just excited to have a hotel room to myself for a couple of nights and not get woken up at 5:45 by my kid. But that's one positive that is separate from Summer League. But it's going to be great, dude. I cannot wait.
Yeah, in that sense, I'm excited to have a plane seat to myself for 14 hours. But hopefully, unless the plane cabin is booked full of toddlers, it should be a really good time compared to, we love our kids, but we like a nice break as well. Now, look, and like Spoony mentioned, we are going to have like cameras and lav mics and running around interviewing people, probably interviewing ourselves a lot as well, I'd imagine, and just recording content. And no real agenda other than capture as much cool shit as we can and try and spin it into something fun for our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to the First to the Floor YouTube channel if you're not already. Anything else on that, guys, or should we just jump straight into this Summer League roster?
Let's do it. I've been in the healing chamber. I haven't been sick in like a year, and I came down with the flu yesterday, and I'm like, how dare you? I can't be getting sick right now. So, but we're back today. Massive improvement. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, all the antioxidants. We're locked in.
Are you a kale guy? You got kale in the smoothie as well?
I know.
Or is that so 2015 at this point?
I legitimately YouTubed how to heal faster from common cold / flu, and fruit was a common thread. So we're locked in on the fruit.
Cool. Well, if the Summer League content fails us, we'll pivot to healing from cold and flu while we're over there in Vegas.
Holistic remedies.
That's all right. Nothing more invigorating than this Summer League roster that the Celtics officially released in this tiny graphic that I've just brought up on screen, blocking out Spoony from my stream. But the roster, as of today, Jaden Springer, Jordan Walsh, J.D. Davison, who just penned a new two-way contract with the C's, Drew Peterson, Baylor, the Shireman, Anton Watson, not Walker, Tristan Anaruna, an undrafted free agent, Ron Harper Jr., that's right, son of Ron Harper Sr., Neemias Queta, Jalen House, Eddie House's son, which is cool. Did not realize that until I'm reading off the run sheet here. Jamias Ramsey, Killian Tilly, and Tyler Cook. So, guys, of those names, like who stands out to you the most? Who are you most excited for?
Well, a surprising one is Queta being on the team at all. It looks like they have tried to build a team that's going to be really good, that's just going to function really well. Like, we can talk about JD's two-way thing. I'm surprised they brought him back, but it feels like they're kind of focused on making sure the team can actually run. It's like, okay, we want to see what Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shireman can do. Let's make sure they've got a big man that can set screens and catch lobs and make reads out of the short roll, and J.D. Davidson can run pick and rolls. The Summer League team looks like it should be really good for a Summer League team.
Oh, yeah, dude. It definitely should be good. And I like the guys who aren't under contract are very Brad Stevens type of names, where it's like these second draft type of dudes who were really good in college, maybe didn't pan out due to injuries or for other reasons, or not being able to shoot for just about all of them. But like dudes with legitimate NBA skills, NBA talent, and like The name I'm going to give you, Killian Tilly. I know you guys don't follow college basketball very much, but he was like the dude who took over for Olynyk after Olynyk went to the NBA at Gonzaga. Same type of dude, shot over 40% for his entire career at Gonzaga. Just injuries just messed him up, man. He's only played 54 NBA games. I think he was a late first-round pick or early second-round pick, still only 26. He's legitimate 6'9", has he's like a dribble, pass, and shoot center type, and people loved him coming out of the draft. But again, the injuries just completely derailed his career. I'm really fascinated to see how much he plays. I think a lot of that will depend on how many games Keita plays, because I don't think he'll play every single game. He doesn't have a ton to prove. So I love the Tilly pickup. Obviously, I'm getting excited over a guy we don't even have space for on the roster.
This is the whole point. That's right. No, I was trying to decide, who do I mention, Keita or Tilly? Because I remember Draft Twitter was very excited about Killian Tilly going to Memphis, and Memphis is very draft Twittery. They always take the guys that draft Twitter is a big fan of. And yeah, the injuries derailed him a little bit. Hey, as far as I'm concerned. But so what do we have available roster-wise at this point? Like, do we have any two-ways available?
No. Well,
so
yes, technically, but Watson's probably going to get that. So we have a two-way still available, but Watson's unsigned, and we have a full roster spot open.
And there's Exhibit 10s, right? We can give out Exhibit 10s to these guys, which is basically an invite to training camp and then see what happens from there.
So the Exhibit 10, if you get the Exhibit 10, get cut at the end of training camp, you get a bonus if you sign with that team's G League roster. So it's a way to keep these guys in the system. Yeah, so there's an extra hook to an Exhibit 10. So
you can sign them to the G League roster, but not on like the NBA two-way contract as well. Okay.
Yep.
Right, because obviously we've got the 15th roster spot still available. I guess in theory, someone like Anton Watson could take get the Jordan Walsh type contract if he plays well. But that was my question. I was like, what's going on? Roster wise, like that's why the JD two-way thing kind of surprised me, because I was like, you kind of now don't have space to bring someone in if they perform really well at Summer League. But I guess the Exhibit 10. And I guess there's just enough flexibility if they really feel like, oh my God, Killian Tilly, he's the one. We've done it again.
Yeah, Killian Tilly. We've got Xavier Tillman, the teabag. We're flush with Tilly, which you love to see. But yeah, Neemias Queta is, like, to answer the who you're most excited for. Like, he's just going to be shacking it up in Summer League, surely, with the size and the experience and the girth. And that first game, July 13th, I want to say, against the Heat, that we're going to be there for in the Cox Pavilion, which I've done a little bit of research, and apparently getting into the Cox Pavilion, it's right next door to the other primary pavilion, the name
Thomas and Mack
Center. Thank you. And apparently for seats there, it's a first come, first serve. So get there nice and early,
sleep in there
to the Celtics bench. Yeah, sleep there the night before, and start singing some sweet poetry into Walsh's ears from behind the bench there, which sounds much creepier out loud than it did in my mind a second ago. But let's get to the pressure rankings here, because it's definitely part of the narrative for Summer League, like whose trajectory this season or even career-wise would be altered or impacted the most by a really solid or even just a straight-up bad Summer League campaign. I've got some names in mind. Jake, who comes to mind first? Who's going to alter their career trajectory the most at Summer League?
I just want to frame it here. We had a little interview with the head coach of the Summer League team today here, and about the pressure of being head coach of the Celtics Summer League team.
Do you feel immense pressure going into this situation as the head coach of this team?
It's the Celtics, of course. The expectation is to win here. And we enjoy that and welcome that.
The expectation is great voice too.
Sounds like Dan Soda.
We've got to get him on the pod. I think it's just like, okay, look, Summer League is for fun, but at the same time, like, these guys want to win. And in the Discord today, we were talking a lot about like the culture of the Celtics and how from top to bottom, they really seem to be nailing it, right? And like the last piece, and one of the hardest pieces of an organization is to like nail the development pipeline, especially when you don't have minutes available. So it's like, this is an important, piece for the Celtics in the future. Like, none of these guys matter really for the next season. Maybe someone pops and that would be awesome. And they get real regular season minutes and maybe they play in the playoffs, but probably not. But we all know the apron stuff's coming. And like, can we get a couple of guys that could be contributors on contenders in 2 years, 3 years, and it starts right here. And so it's for fun, but also we need these guys at some point. Pressure rankings. Number 1. I think Jaden Springer might have the most pressure to perform out of anyone. Like, maybe partly just because he makes $4 million. It's like, you just look at the roster and it's like, yeah, you look by far the most expendable because you make double a minimum guy and you've proven to pretty much not be an NBA player so far. There's a Springer hive out there in Celtics Nation and I'm not part of it, but admittedly I was not part of the Cater hive and I was not part of the Tillman 3-point shooting hive, and I'm being lured into both hives. So maybe Springer, but like I do think like he's played a little bit in the NBA. He played a bit in the G League. I think that he needs to show some kind of offensive development or something. Otherwise, I just don't see how he fits in the NBA really because he's just not big enough.
Yeah, I think for a guy like Springer too, Summer League has less value than maybe some of these bigs or something who can show off a skill set maybe you didn't know was really there. Like, Springer is not good enough with the handle, not good enough around the rim to do it against NBA players. He's probably going to look like Jason Tatum against Summer Leaguers in a lot of times just because he's that sort of like quadruple A player. Too good for the G League, probably not good enough for the NBA right now. And like, look, if he shoots the shit out of the ball for 5 games in Summer League, I'm going to be like, he fixed his shot. Now he's got a role in the NBA. But honestly, that's going to be completely meaningless, right? Like, it does not mean he's fixed his shot. But I'm with you. Springer's absolute, I think, kind of an easy number 1 for me. And you're right. It goes to the contract, Jake. He could play himself into a nice role on this team. We really don't have a 4th guard. If Derek White goes down for a month, it gets pretty tricky all of the sudden.
How dare you?
Yeah. Or if Peyton Pritchard goes down for a month, it gets pretty tricky all of a sudden, right? And we need somebody to step up. So my top 2 are Springer and JD Davison, just because there is a role for one of these guys to earn, and Summer League's a great place to start. But look, Springer also is very tradable. He expires, so he's really easy to move. He's basically the only contract we can trade. So if he doesn't play his way to a spot, he just doesn't have as many chances as somebody like J.D. Davison might have. Although his time's coming to an end pretty quickly here too.
Yeah, so Springer was my number 2 because he's got a guaranteed $4 million this year. The Celtics picked up his team option on December 31st of 2023. So he'll be at training camp regardless, unless he does get traded or waived, I think, which is unlikely. And a guaranteed $4 million, which to me takes some of the pressure off. Whereas J.D. Davison, and as I was writing my rankings last night, the 2-way contract had not been confirmed for J.D. at that point, but like Springer, he's got that guaranteed $4 million. He has demonstrated an NBA level skill in his defense, particularly his on-ball defense. I think there's more pressure on JD. This feels like his last of last chances. He hasn't proved that he's consistently NBA caliber. He's going to be 22 early in the season, and I think beyond athleticism, which is a broader skill which people outside of the NBA also possess, I don't think that he has really an NBA-ready skill set that he's demonstrated consistently. And for that reason, for lack of a guaranteed $4 million, I think there's way more pressure on JD Davison personally.
He does have the 2-way though. So like no matter what happens, I guess he's got that in the back pocket. So he gets to run point guard from Maine. Yeah, but like he's, again, another guy. It's like, I mean, I'm never going to forget Spoonie's incredible breakdown of JD Davison's Summer League from 2 years ago. Divorce level content creation right there.
It's 20 minutes long for some.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing. There's no reason for that to be 20 minutes long.
Unbelievable, man. Hey, I was in. I believed. He's good at throwing lobs. So for Summer League, I think he's played well in Summer League before. So I expect him to be good. Who knows, man? Some guys just figure out their shot in an off season. And if all it would take for him is to become like a good shooter, and he's in the NBA. It's incredible to me how many of guys you can just say that for. Like, what happened to all these players? Why can't no one shoot? Like, what? Like, it blows my mind.
It's a small hoop.
I know.
Big ball.
Yeah,
I guess so.
that's right. Yeah, it's very difficult. Yeah, I think JD, like I said, he's a pretty clear number 2 for me as well. I think the thing I want to see about JD, the shot obviously is massive. I think it changes his ceiling as a player pretty big time if he starts being like a legitimately good 3-point shooter. I will say in that video, I might not have been in that video, but I've always maintained that I see JD's future as like an Ish Smith type, which is not like some amazing NBA player, but it's like a dude who can come in and give you 10 minutes of ball handling and probably bounces around to 10 different teams, which I can see his skill set getting there. He just needs to do a lot better. No one respects him, not just the shot, but him even like taking a layup, really. Like, people just play him completely for the pass. He's a good passer. I think he's got pretty good court vision. You're right. He's a great lob thrower. I think he's got really good feel on the pick and roll just in general. But that's doesn't help very much when the other team can just sit on the roll man with 2 guys, because you are absolutely not going to take a 3 or a mid-range jumper or get downhill and do something else. So I want to see him just be more aggressive, trying to score the ball, but knowing when to pick his spots and when to pick out the pass. But yeah, Blake Springer, man, he's got the 2-way. You know, it's pretty rare that you cut a 2-way guy and move on in the middle of the season, although we've done it. I can't remember who we did it with, but I know we did it with somebody. Might have been Cabagelli, actually, now that I think about it. But regardless,
I believed I was a jelly guy.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's why I don't believe in Kata, is because I fell for Cabagelli, and that's why I'm
get hurt again.
Scorned lover.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say Springer 1, JD 2 in the pressure rankings. Folks in the chat, let us know your thoughts, and folks listening later, add a comment to the YouTube or Spotify, which you can also comment on. Let us know who you think the most pressure is on this summer league, and hello to you as well, chat, in true off-season form. We did not greet you guys. We're very happy to have you here along with us. Yeah, so I've got a couple other names that I'll rattle off here in terms of a pretty minute amount of pressure on. Drew Peterson, who also has a 2-way deal. And I think he was the number 1 runner-up Hauser replacement in most people's eyes last year, at least in theory. And maybe that's changed now with Baylor, the Shireman, on deck. But at some point, I think we want to see it from Drew Peterson in more of a sort of an NBA environment. And you can't necessarily paint the G League with that brush. Is there some pressure on him to begin performing slightly above expectations to show that he can do the dance in the NBA?
It's funny because he came in like out of the blue. I don't have any expectations with him. Like, he got signed like in the midst of like that West Coast trip early in the season, and then he ended up getting garbage time minutes over Jordan Walsh, which infuriated me. And that's like that's like all I know about him, really. And like, he played a couple other garbage minutes, and I didn't watch a ton of Maine Celtics. So for me, I don't have any expectations for Drew Peterson. We haven't talked about our guy yet, though, and I feel like we probably should.
I don't even have him on my rankings.
Well, this is the thing.
No wrong in my eyes, but go ahead.
So this is the problem. I think probably we're in the same boat, and it's like I see in the Discord was like I want to see Jordan Walsh play like Neesmith did in his second summer league. Sure. My dad today said the exact same thing. I'm like, that's pretty high expectations. Neesmith was the 14th overall pick. He was a year older. He also played a ton of minutes his rookie year, but also was like, well, Neesmith didn't play that well in the summer league. So it's like, I think we are maybe emotionally trying to protect ourselves and protect Jordan Walsh from any expectations in the event that he doesn't play awesome, so that we can maintain that he may be awesome one day. But it would be nice if he was just very good.
I kind of think there's more pressure on Peterson than Jordan Walsh, just because Walshy has he's not only signed this year, but he's signed for the season after, and then we have a team option for a year after that. So I think they view him as a project. He's 3 years younger than Drew Peterson too. I really want Walshy to come out and look awesome. I'm afraid his game is not going to translate to essentially pick up hoops that the Summer League is. Although I feel like Summer League's gotten better recently. Like, teams are taking it more seriously than when I was like paying $5 for the Summer League pass 10 years ago, watching it on ESPN Plus. But so I think there's just a longer runway for Walshy, whereas like if he's back here next year, then I think he's probably number one on the list. But I still think they see him as sort of a more long-term project. And Peterson, man, I'm with you, Jake. He just pops out of nowhere. So it's like, oh, whatever. It's found money if he's decent. I think they might have like a really like nice stat counter in Maine, because all these dudes, like some of Drew Peterson's assist numbers are like fucking nutty. He's like Hedo Turkoglu in the G League. And when he gets up to the big team, I'm just like not really seeing that type of skill set with him. So I would like to see it in Summer League. I hope he's diming people up and throwing lobs to people. And if he has that combined with the shooting, he's a hell of an interesting prospect on a two-way. But yeah, I think I've got Peterson over Walsh, but I can see it with Walshy, because 38th pick, man, your career is not guaranteed as a second-round pick.
Yeah, I could definitely see it with Walshy as well. But I think maybe the expectation is just for him to have a decent summer league. He's still so young. He's not even 20 and a half, and he's locked up so long term. And he was a second.
This is what I mean, though. This is hilarious. We're using half ages for our guy Walshy now.
You're
It's
absolutely
not even 20
right.
in 6 months.
I think I need like more unbiased thoughts and opinions on the matter, on how like people who aren't obsessed with Walshy feel about it, because I think any of us, it's a wash, right? Like our minds are completely brainwashed with Walshy propaganda.
But yet there's no reason to believe or not believe, I feel like, with Walsh right now. Right? I think the best thing, he shot 36% on like 5+ attempts in the G League, and that's going to be, he's like, does he come into Summer League with like 6 extra pounds of muscle where you're like, oh, hang on, those arms are looking just a little thicker, a little Tatum-y. Seeing the progression here. Like I think just a little extra size, a little more, just polish and steadiness to his defensive game would be nice in the Summer League as well, right? Because that was like his main skill coming into the NBA. Is like, can he be an elite defender, play multiple positions, give you a little rim protection maybe with those long arms as he gets bigger, and then the connective passing and stuff. He's by far who I'm most excited for. Yeah. But I've definitely found myself being like trying to temper everyone else's expectations. Not that I have an impact on everyone at all, but like, I'm like, just chill, man. He's 20 and a half. Imagine what had happened in that half year.
Not even 20 and 132 days, which is close to a half,
but not.
So I will say in the Cox Pavilion, you can hear the crowd quite clearly, and if Walshy starts to catch fire, you will hear 3 gentlemen close to the bench, hopefully, losing their fucking minds. Yeah, Walshy's going to know that the people collectively know him and see him as Walshy after that game too, which I'm looking forward to so much. Baylor Shireman, in terms of the pressure rankings, hear me out. Brad Stevens' first ever first-round pick, albeit the 30th pick, the last pick of the first round. Every first-round pick has some degree of expectations put on them by the fan base, and you add to that, currently, we don't have a Sam Hauser extension in the works to any degree that we're aware of. We are looking for maybe a Sam Hauser replacement in Drew Peterson, like we mentioned, or Baylor Shireman in the long term. Don't get me wrong, very much looking forward to Sam Hauser in this upcoming season. And so is there some pressure to just see a glimpse of it from the Baylor Shireman perspective, Spoonie?
I think the fan base has extraordinarily high expectations of Baylor Shireman. Some of the takes I've been seeing, like he's just going to walk into the rotation and be like this plus player. He's the 30th pick. Like, it's actually far more likely he's not good at all in the NBA. So I think there's like a lot of expectation on him, and I think people might be extremely disappointed. But I think from like an internal roster building standpoint, there's you want him to look good, right? Yeah, he's Brad's first round pick. They spoke very highly of him. You don't want him to look like he absolutely doesn't belong. But he's got guaranteed money for this year and next year, and then 2 team options. So I think there's a little less pressure on him than some of these other guys whose station isn't quite as comfortable for the future. But I feel like there's a lot of fan base pressure on old Baylor.
Hey, man, I watched a 16-minute video from Nick, NBA, breaking down Baylor. And I think there's a little pressure on him just because like he should be someone who cooks at Summer League. 24 years old, like can handle the ball, run pick and roll, shoot, create his own shot. He's going to be stronger than a bunch of guys. Like he should have the IQ on a bunch of guys. So I think if he's bad in Summer League, I think, well, this is the thing with Summer League. The general rule is if your guys are good, then that's great. But if your guys are bad, then it doesn't matter. That's just how it works. But if, like, he should, in theory, be someone who comes out and, like, looks pretty good at Summer League, considering he's older and has this, like, Hauser is not someone who played well at any Summer League, really. Like, he played okay with when Pritchard was running the show, but, like, unless someone's hitting Hauser with wide open catch and shoot threes, I mean, that was the old Hauser before he turned into white mellow, obviously. Right. But like, yeah, he was never going to cook on his own in Summer League, whereas Baylor has a little bit more of his own off the bounce juice.
Yeah. Can I throw one out there real quick before we move
please.
on? Anton Watson doesn't have a contract right now, right?
Yeah,
And he was
I had him as well.
Okay, all right, yeah, like he's a 54th pick. Like teams don't always sign their late second round picks. Sometimes they just let him go off into like the Netherlands. So I'll be interested to see, like, he's still technically playing for a two-way contract even. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him to even just make the roster, frankly.
That's why I don't understand the JD two-way.
Yeah.
Like, what if Anton looks awesome? I guess you just signed him to the 15th man roster.
Oh, no, we have one more two-way.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah.
So
So we've got JD and Peterson, then there's the open one.
Okay.
Because Kada got converted to a full.
Shout out Kada. Guaranteed again, man. Another extension.
That's right, Brad. He's
Another
addicted.
extension. He can't stop, dude.
3 years, 7-point-something mil. Nice chunk of change.
But the first one's only guaranteed, and then the second 2 years are non-guaranteed, which is basically a 3-year minimum contract, which is it's a freaking great contract, dude. Like,
Brad.
God damn, man. The margins cooking.
Yeah, Anton Watson, pressure's on, mate. Pressure's on.
Baby
Can he
off.
shoot consistently is what I put, because I think there's some expectation. We're starting to like search, admittedly, I guess, bottom of the barrel for like bigs who can stretch the floor a little bit, knowing that Al Horford is on the way out eventually. And not saying that like we're expecting Anton Watson to be any form of an Al Horford replacement, but like, are there Moneyball style? Are there like gets on base style, like elements of a full player's skill set that you can find that would be useful, at least in spot minutes for the Celtics? And I know Brad Stevens said in his post-draft presser, he's got the green light. Like, we're just asking him to jack up shots as soon as he gets those opportunities. And he shot really well in his last college season on really low volume. So, like, what does that look like at slightly higher volume? I hope that he's just jacking them up for us at the Cox Pavilion there in Game 1 of the Summer League. Can't wait to get very excited audibly on the broadcast there. Anything else in terms of pressure rankings? Anything that we've missed before we move on?
No, I think 28 minutes on the Summer League preview is probably good.
I feel like I could keep going. I do want to ask you guys, like, what other Summer League teams are you excited to see? Personally, I want to be in the presence of a giant. Very excited to see Zach Edey and the Memphis Grizzlies, and Gigi Jackson as well, who's also signed up to play on their. Signed up is definitely the wrong term, but he's playing for their Summer League team. What else? Who else are you guys thinking of?
I've got the Wizards. Isar intrigues me. He's just huge, and he's a fluid athlete. Bub Carrington's on their team, who is a point guard for Pitt, who's really high. Sam Vecini absolutely loved him. And then Keyshawn George, who's the Miami wing that I liked in the draft. Those are 3 first-round picks. And the Timberwolves with Dillingham. I think Dillingham's going to be fucking electric in Summer League. And then Dayshawn Nix is just a dude I really loved in his the 2021 draft. He was a G League Ignite guy. He's sticking around apparently. And then Jesse Edwards, he went to WVU. He signed a 2-way with the Wolves, so I want to see him live. Maybe wear my WVU shirt, see if I can get, notice me please, kid that's 15 years younger than me.
Yes.
I definitely want to see the top 3 guys. So I think Reed Shepherd will be ridiculous in Summer League as well. It's like he's going to be bombing from like 30 plus. Part of me wants to go see the Bucks and hope that AJ Lawson is really bad because I'm a bastard.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go boo these like 18-year-old kids.
2.8 points in the NBL, you bum.
Yes. I'm all for that.
But yeah, so the top three guys, Dillingham, absolutely. Castle for the Spurs intrigues me as well. Like, it's funny, like, now that we're actually going, like, typically in a normal year, like, Summer League, I'll obviously watch all the Celtics games, but then, like, in especially a year like this, I'm not sure I'd be watching a ton of non-Celtic Summer League games because it's like recherche. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. But hey, I'm willing to go in and have my mind changed by Alex Sarr and recherche, whereas like the previous years, Wemby, Chet, all these guys, like the last few drafts have been kind of crazy. And so I've been, kind of tapped into some of the top picks. But now that I'm going, I'm like, yeah, I can talk myself into pretty much any of these teams besides like the Clippers, who I realized changed their logo officially. So if like you go into League Pass, it's like a boat. It's a boat now.
Yeah.
It's very bad. Bad job from them.
I'll check out Reed Shepherd, who's meant to be like one of the best shooters in the draft, or if not the best shooter in the draft. Watch him just bomb from anywhere for the Rockets. And the Jazz. Shout out to the Archangel in our Discord, who posted the Jazz roster, which is kind of loaded with talent. Kenneth Lofton Jr., another thick boy.
Yeah.
Darius
Summer League
Baisley,
legend.
rather. Keontae George, Walker Kessler, who's like crazy
He's
NBA
playing.
starter caliber. He's playing for the Jazz in the Summer League as well. So I'm definitely keen to check those guys out as well. There's always lots of talent, and, guys who don't normally get up in the NBA have like Summer League moments, a la Carson Edwards, for example. So I agree with you, Jake. Like, wouldn't necessarily check out all of the TV broadcast if I was watching from home, but we're going to be there in Vegas. I want to watch as much hoop as possible, and I'm sure if we just put ourselves in those environments, we're going to see some crazy shit. I hope.
I
So it
can't
should be
wait
fun.
to go to a sports book and bet on Cavs minus 7.5 against the Bucks in Summer League and get so
Yes.
mad, get so upset.
Now,
Pretty awesome.
in a moment, we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Team USA. We're going to get to some free agency news. And like I said up top, some news around the sale of the team. But first, we've got to hear from our friends over at Prize Picks. Spoonie.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. With the finals over, the hoops action doesn't stop on Prize Picks. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves, alongside greats like Brianna Stewart and Aja Wilson. You could win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. I've been watching tape in an attempt to match Jake in the first of the floor Prize Picks competition. Just saw a video of Caitlin Clark's teammates unable to catch her passes. That means I'll be hammering Clark assists less and maybe combine that with Rafi Devers' more hits. Prize Picks, it's so fun, it can even make baseball interesting. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Well done, Spoonie.
Thank you.
Very professional. Let's get over to the Team USA stuff, and maybe the biggest news to come out of Olympic basketball in a long time. Jason Tatum got a haircut, guys. Looking sharp. So we go from like best Tatum ever, gets to the paint whenever he wants, gets to the basket whenever he wants, can switch 1 through 5, back to shooting 50% on step back threes is I think the tweet that I'm basically plagiarizing now. Guys, what do you think? I don't know. Is this news? I think it looks better than the curls in my
Interesting.
Unnecessary personal opinion.
He's a good looking man. Curls, buzz cut. Like, you can't really go wrong if you're Jason Tatum. But I especially like the shirt that he's wearing. I love that he's wearing like the t-shirt that costs like $60 and bootleg that from like the internet that I'm trying to get my hands on as well, of himself, which is awesome. Do we think that he had another kid? I'm trying to figure out why he was late, and like why else would he be late? Like, he wouldn't have been just to sign the contract.
My wife
it
was
was.
tapped into that. Yeah. I know his girlfriend was pregnant. I don't know what happened.
Very pregnant.
with it.
I showed the
Yeah.
picture of her at the title celebration like party the night they won to my mom, and she's like, "That's 3 weeks ago." Yeah, could be it.
Yeah. Makes
Could be
sense.
it.
Yeah. So he wouldn't just be there to sign the contract and
Remember Jalen?
greet Baylor Scheinman?
Remember Jalen didn't like
He's
sign
on like
sign-
vacation or whatever, right?
Jalen like didn't sign it until like way after summer like vibes, and we were all like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And so
He was just in like France or something.
yeah, just hanging out.
Real quick on the haircut, lest we forget a very famous haircut last offseason. Derek White
Ooh.
propelled him to his best year of his entire
Let's go.
career. JT career year coming up. He's winning MVP. Power of the haircut.
Please.
Folks in the chat, let us know your favorite famous haircuts and bonus points if they're Celtics related. Some other news. So
Second kid's name is going to be Truce. Quite-
Love it. The captain and the truce. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's move on. Kevin Durant, he's injured. He's day-to-day with a calf strain. I'm just bringing up the article here. If you're watching on YouTube, this is per NBA.com. And I guess the concern there, beyond what Phoenix Suns fans and Team USA fans are feeling, is potentially an added minute load already on the wings, including Jason Tatum. So let's just get to the roster very quickly, which I thought I had up here. Yeah, so the guards. Let's look at the depth because we want to talk about what the load might be on Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum. So guards, Steph Curry, Drew Holiday, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, who is listed as a guard but could probably play wing, especially at the Olympic level as well, and Tyrese Halliburton. Wings, KD, who we just mentioned, is now out day-to-day with the calf strain. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Jason Tatum. Big Bam Adebayo, AD, and Joel Embiid. Did I miss something there, Jake?
No, it just cracks me up, dude. Like you're listing these names. What like JT
team.
the names are insane, but it's like JT the Iron Man. Like he's here to save the day again. You read out the list of names. LeBron James is 100 years old. KD is 100 years old and has a calf strain. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been healthy in half a decade, and then now they're out of wings. And JT is the next one. So it's like, here he is again to save the day. Like, classic calf strain, communication. It's like, it's a calf strain. It's not that serious. I read it was like, KD told Steve Kerr he doesn't think it's serious. I'm like, great. That means it's definitely... There's either a calf strain or no calf strain, which means you're out for a minimum of 2 weeks. And if we learn anything from KP and Giannis, or much longer. So, like, I just don't expect KD to be playing very much now. That's where I'm at with it, which means I coming into this thing, firstly, I was like, if the Celtics had not won the title, I would have been like, Tatum better be starting, he better be playing a real role, and we got to get the PR team on this thing. We got to rebuild the reputation of JT after not winning the title. But Championship J has just not taken a smile off his face since he won the title. And so it's like, I was like, cool. I don't care what role he plays. Bring him off the bench again. Super sub role. I don't care. 12 minutes a night, whatever. But now it looks like he's going to have to play, like probably a lot.
Well, yeah, and I think the big depth is where they're the shallowest. It's only Bam, AD, and Embiid, and we know that AD and Embiid are both very injury-prone themselves. Like, they're going to need some Tatum and probably LeBron at the 4-5 spot as well, I think, to maintain from a big man perspective. So, yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be this mammoth load. Maybe mammoth is too strong, but there's going to be a significant-ish load on Tatum, given that KD is out, LeBron's very old, and Kawhi is, paper mache or whatever. What do you think, Spoonie?
Yeah, I LeBron, he's old, but he's also an Iron Man. Like, I'm pretty sure he's so pumped full of, PEDs that he can't get injured at this point in his career. So he'll be fine. him at the 5 with Tatum at the 4 is like kind of cool and pretty interesting, I think. But I don't think LeBron knows how to play center. Like, he just will play point guard anyway, even if he's out there with like Curry and Devin Booker. So I kind of hate this team. I don't know. I do not like this Team USA team. It is not a team. It is just a collection of all-stars. And I know that they're the very best players in the NBA, bar a couple of the guys. But, like, I don't know. Embiid, ugh. LeBron, ugh. Devin Booker, like, why? I don't know, dude. Like, I just don't love it. I'm interested to see. I think this is Curry's first Olympics. So
it is, yeah.
Be really interested to see Curry in the Olympic game, and if he's surrounded by all this talent, is he going to be like, I'm jacking it up from 33 feet? Probably, but how's that going to work when you've got all these other mouths to feed? So they need some buy-in, and I think Tatum should start because he will buy in. he will play his role. He won't demand the ball. He'll space to the corner if that's what you need, and he'll guard anybody on the other end. I think the politics will be he comes off the bench, which I'm fine with. If KD misses the start of the Olympics or all of them, because you're right, Jake. Like a calf strain can kind of not be a small deal. It can kind of be a big deal. So I just have no idea who's going to play, what roles they're going to play, who's starting at center. You could make a pretty good argument for any of those three dudes. So they just got a lot of work to do, I feel like. And I could see this team kind of disappointing.
Oh, no.
They'll probably be fine. They'll probably be fine, but
I did see one video today where I was like,
Have you seen the Australian roster? Sorry.
Yeah, dude. I mean, no, like, and we can talk about the
France
other
is good.
rosters. Are they good though? Like, so
they got Wemby.
They got Wemby, and then their best perimeter player is still Evan Fournier. I'm pretty sure. So it's like,
but he's good in the Olympics.
he was good in the last Olympics 4 years ago. He's so old.
Olympic basketball's weird though. It's different. I don't know.
But
it's hard to explain. But yeah, I know.
It is. But they won last time, and this team's better, like by a pretty wide margin. And like Steph Curry, dude, at a shorter 3-point line. I just think that they're gonna destroy everybody. Like as much as I don't like Embiid, like he's playing. AD's healthy right now. Like I do think those two, like they're gonna destroy everybody. And I saw a video of Tatum coming around a screen. They hit him on a cut to the rim. And then there was a video of Ant like relocating, and all the Timberwolves fans below being like, Ant relocated. And I was like, man, we're another piece of JT game that's underrated, and like part of his development where he wasn't the number one guy, where he had to learn to be a role player first and play off the ball, means that he's really excellent in these contexts as well, because he's gotten better at screen setting, maybe, Spoonie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
A little. It's hard to not get better than how bad he was. Yeah.
The only way is up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like, I can't get there. I think they're going to destroy everyone. Because the ball handling of LeBron and Steph, like, it's too good.
Yeah, the reason I said, like, have you seen the Australian roster, Spoonie, is because, like, you hating on this Team USA roster is just patently absurd. You're talking to two Australians. We're looking at Matthew Dellavedova. They're bringing him back for the Olympics. Like, if you want a hateable team where you're desperate to just even get bronze again, that's our angle. So, I understand what you're saying. Like, it's like maybe a little 2004-ish. Like, will this team that's like brimming with talent, will they actually meld together? Maybe their biggest mistake would have been not getting Joe Mazzulla on as a coach, who is like clearly elite at getting elite level talent across the top to meld together and play as one with that right mindset. But yeah, I mean, Steph Curry, man, first Olympics, shortened 3-point line, everything Jake said in that sense. Like,
he's so good.
Like, totally excusable strategy is just like give the fucking ball to Steph, do like elevator doors, like double screens up the top, and just like let him like win the gold medal with his shooting. It would be awesome to see. And also that takes the load off guys like Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum as well. And I want to make sure that we touch on the Drew Holiday stuff, because Jake, I know you had like maybe a bit of a minutes concern.
Yeah,
Drew.
dude.
Like, well, because I listed the guard depth before, and like just looking at the roster, Team USA, most of its depth is at the guard spot, but then you strike out the two guards in terms of ball handler, playmaking guards, and like guys to defend the opposing point guard, like team point of attack side of things. You've got Steph, Drew, and Tyrese Halliburton, and of those guys, Drew is really the only competent defender. So do you think there's going to be like this sort of excess load on Drew, especially like in closing time?
We saw it with the Celtics this year. Like, the Celtics are stacked with talent, and Drew Holiday is elite at being a role player, setting screens, getting the offense moving, playing a variety of offensive roles, catch and shoot. And then defensively, dude, all these guards, Steph's actually become a pretty good defender, but like Halliburton, one of the worst defenders in the NBA. And good defender, but like, if you're playing Ant now, then you're kind of now short on some playmaking. I think it's very clear to me that like Drew will be in the starting and closing lineups, and he just plays a role and plays a style and offers things that none of the other guys do, which makes me think that he's just going to end up playing a ton. Because like I think last Olympics it was pretty much a tie between Drew and Tatum on the two most important players after KD. Like KD was the number one guy, and then it was Tatum and Drew after that. And so I think he's going to play a lot. I'm confident that they're going to kill everyone, so the minutes are going to stay low anyway. But I do think there's a world where it's like, man, did Drew play 29 minutes again? Can we just like chill, dude?
Yeah, I was hoping Drew wasn't on this team selfishly as a Celtics fan, because like the USA has an embarrassment of riches. They kind of don't need him to win gold. But when I said disappoint, I meant like the silver medal. You know, I didn't mean like, you know,
that would be a crazy disappointment still.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that would be a massive disappointment for this collection of talent. Yeah, let's just keep Drew down to like 18 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game, nothing crazy. He could just start and end the games, and that's it. Like, he doesn't have to play in the middle. That's fine. But like, Halliburton's just like not gonna play. Like, this is a ridiculous roster. This might be the best roster since the Dream Team. And even then, they had like Leitner. There's no bad player. Like, these dudes are all perennial all-stars.
They also brought 3 guys that are like coming off injuries: Halliburton, Embiid, and Kawhi.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
What do we do? Like, why is Kawhi going, dude? It's insane to me. He's not going to play, and it's a waste of a roster spot of someone that would have fit the roster better when you've got, I don't know. It annoys me that they've brought guys that probably shouldn't be there, injury-wise.
Yeah, it feels like Nick Nurse is like GMing it, just like bring on the 2 best Celtics and make sure they play really heavy minutes so we can Kemba Walker them and ruin their following season. Someone in the chat saying that that this is not Steph Curry's first Olympics and that he played in 2010. 2010 was the FIBA tournament. If you count backwards from 4, that's probably the easiest way of figuring out when it was and was not the Olympics. Anyway, other news. Jason Tatum is very tall and also very jacked, as pictured here in the team photo. I mean, look at him, like sandwiched between Kawhi Leonard and KD. The arms, the shoulders, the height. Now we've got the haircut, just the championship joy nestled between the frowns of the guys either side of him. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. It's not really news. It's just, exactly. It's beautiful.
No, it is news. Like, I've become less obsessed with the height, but it's so hard to not be obsessed with the size and of these guys at the dimensions, because it's such a dimension-based sport. The way you score points is with a basket in the sky. Like, being tall is really, really helpful. Which is why I'm talking about basketball, not playing basketball. But then like he's huge, dude. Like, he's the same size as Bam, and he looks bigger than Kawhi at this point. He's like right below AD. And I think that if you want to like talk about why it's important, it's like, this is why he was so valuable in the playoffs. It's because he can legitimately, he has turned into like the modern power forward. Like the best power forward by definition in the NBA. Like, they just do not exist. And if we're going to talk about the Sixers in a second, they don't have a power forward. And it's like, you can even take your pick on any power forward and throw out the cap and assets and how you get them. None of them are as good as Tatum, and none of them are that good in general. Like, they just don't exist. There's just not that many guys that can be that big, guard up, guard down, and then also play a variety of positions offensively as well. And the fact that he's this big at 26, like, you can go back and look at the size progression. But like, Giannis is a little bit of an outlier because he like wasn't on a real program until he got to the US. But like LeBron, Steph, all these guys, Kawhi, got consistently bigger and stronger and better until they were 30 plus. I mean, LeBron's gotten bigger and bigger as he moves into this like late stage bully ball mode, which is probably going to be what Tatum does as well, which makes me think he needs to go to the school of Kevin McHale now. We've got to start working on the post moves. That's maybe another podcast.
yeah, one of these days. I think it's Simmons is convinced he's 6'10". I don't know, maybe he's 6'9", whatever. He's taller than 6'8" at this point. I think we can all agree to, at the very least. And the fact that he basically can also play point guard and then defend the center on the other end, that's just a rare combination of skills that very, very few dudes in NBA history have possessed. And then he shot 37% from 3. Like, that's pretty incredible on the types of threes he took too. Like, obviously the playoffs didn't work out quite as well, but the dude he is one of the more unique. He's becoming one of the more unique players in NBA history at this point, with his defensive contributions and his offensive, just like good at everythingness. So, Yeah, and I think he's probably underrated at this point because he shot so poorly in the playoffs, and now people have gone too harsh on him on that end. So I don't know. He's huge. Dude, like, huge. Did he just get out of the gym? He must have a pump going there because he looks like Dwight fucking Howard in that picture.
Yeah, it's insane. And just such a stark difference from his peers there next to him. Well, look, very much looking forward to the Olympic basketball tournament. Obviously, it's huge, and FIBA as well when it happens after Summer League, and just help nurturing us through the gap during the off-season there. So hopefully we can strike a balance of really enjoying Team USA and Olympic basketball while also not seeing such a heavy load on our Celtics guys there. So we'll see. We're going to come back in a moment and talk about free agency news and some new details on the team sale. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Game Time, as I bring up my ad read here. First of the Floor is brought to you by Game Time. If I was in Boston right now, I'd be filling the void left by the end of the NBA season by getting to some Red Sox games. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. We have tickets in our possession that we got through the Game Time app for the Celtics Summer League game this Saturday, July 13. But you can take advantage of all the great Game Time features, such as last-minute tickets, flash deals, and zone deals. Easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area, plus lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, free agency details as I stumble back to my run sheet here. Caleb Martin, our guy, our friend, Caleb Martin, who recently hopefully washed away some of the more painful memories of Caleb Martin in a Heat jersey, stumbled big time in a playoff series against the Boston Celtics, now signs with the Philadelphia 76ers on a 4-year, $32 million deal. Guys, thoughts? Obviously, it's a big deal for us because it's Caleb Martin and he's hurt us before, but now he's with the Sixers. Are you taking this deal seriously, Spoonie?
Yeah, look. We have PTSD related to Caleb Martin for sure, but he's not that good. Like he's a replacement level. He's better than a replacement level wing, but he's like a nice bench wing. He's getting paid like a nice bench wing. Like he doesn't seriously change the floor or ceiling of the Sixers in any true meaningful way. I also think there's a chance he leaves the Black Magic and he's just not good at all. And he's like turns into his twin. So I don't know. I think it's kind of it's a fair deal. Like this isn't going to kill the Sixers, even if he is bad, it's 7 or 8 million, whatever it is. So yeah, it's kind of whatever to me. If this guy just had a different name and had the exact same stats of Caleb Martin and he signed this, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it's just scary that it's Caleb Martin going to Philly. But Philly has a way of ruining all like the good vibes that players bring to them. So I can see that happening here big time.
Yeah, I'm not scared at all anymore. It's like the Home Alone scene where he comes out and he's like, I'm not afraid anymore. That's how I feel about Caleb Martin. It was insane to me that Woj retweeted the initial signing with his Boston Celtics statistics and three-point shooting numbers. I've never seen that happen with any other signing. It was one of the weirdest things ever. And I'm like, Darren, like, it's not how it works. And I was like, thank you very much for jinxing Caleb Martin into never making a three against the Celtics ever again. Because, like, what weird spin.
Was it his like all-time stats against the C's, or was his stats in that one playoff series where he shot like 110% from three?
All-time stats against the Celtics, but like those are heavily inflated by the conference finals run, and then also he actually also shot 42% in the series this year as well against the Celtics. But again, most of that was from that one game.
Game 2.
But yeah, so like the fact that they tweeted that out is so odd. And Daryl Morey tweeted out "Welcome to the team" or whatever, and then the link to Caleb Martin's Game 7 YouTube highlights against the Celtics where he was like 5 for 6 from 3. I'm like, this is very odd to me. And like, And you're also setting expectations incredibly, incredibly high for a guy that, as you said, Spoonie, is like a good wing. He's a good wing. And more in the context of the Sixers, they don't have a starting lineup still. That makes a ton of sense because right now it's probably Maxey, Oubre, Paul George. Caleb Martin's probably the power forward because Paul George doesn't do the dirty work. Even though, and that's, again, Paul George never turned into Jason Tatum. Like, he never was like able to do the dirty work and become that like big guy. So he can't be the power forward. He can't be the guy that saves your entire team from a rebounding perspective. It's not something that he can do. What they're going to do, though, from my understanding now, is after watching the Ricky and the Paul, is they're going to sign KJ Martin, which is Kenya Martin's son, who has bounced around the league now, to a balloon payment of a 1-year deal of like $12 million. And that's going to give them the ability to then aggregate KJ Martin plus Caleb Martin or Oubre, so somewhere between 20 and 28 million for the power forward position. And that's what brought me back to looking at all the power forwards that they could potentially trade for, and me realizing that there aren't many good power forwards that like are actually gettable. Like Jeremy Grant, he's good, but he makes 32 million and he's not very good. Julius Randle. Jeremy Grant, he's okay.
He's good. Yeah.
He's fine. He would be better. He would be a better fit than Caleb Martin. Larry Markkinen is the one player that changes the ceiling of this team from a lineup perspective. Sure. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be very doable because they can't make that trade till later, and they would have to sign KJ Martin and then wait till January for his extension to become trade eligible. So my prediction is that they trade for Kyle Kuzma at the deadline. Caleb Martin plus KJ Martin and a first-round pick for Kyle Kuzma.
I love Kyle Kuzma. I'm a Kuz guy. Always have been. Key contributor on a championship team. Never forget the fake bubble. I think Kuz is good. I think he'd be good for them, but man, he's got some serious flaws, and he showed flashes of being like a solid defensive player in LA, and that just completely disappeared on the Wizards. But that's probably just kind of wizarding type of stuff. Yeah, I think you're right, Jake. Like, Laurie is the only name that really scares you of those guys, even if I am a big fan of Kuzma. He's just an incredibly good offensive player and like okay enough defensively. But Danny's asking like for 3-4 picks and swaps. He's asking for the world, as Danny Ainge does. Do you also think Danny just wouldn't trade him to Philly? I kind of feel like he might have that in him too, which I would love.
Well, yeah, he may either just not do it to not do us dirty and to continually do Philly dirty, or maybe he does do it and guts them and then they don't succeed anyway, and then it's like a win-win for everyone involved except for Philly, which is, definitely wishful thinking. On Kuzma, you kind of touched on it, Spoonie, like the wizarding. Like we talked about Summer League being a difficult landscape through which to evaluate players as far as how they would translate to the NBA. I think watching Wizards game, you could almost say the same of them. It's like, okay, how good is Kuzma really, given we've only seen him play on the Wizards the last couple of years? But maybe the like zoomed out broader view is that the Sixers pretty good currently roster-wise and probably our biggest threat in the East as of today, and they have a clear strategy in place to improve their roster even more. And maybe the one benefit to us there is there's just, like you said, Jake, a general lack of personnel at the 4 spot that they could acquire. So hopefully that ends up being somewhat of a saving grace for us as far as still, being the number 1 seed and number 1 championship contender, at least coming out of the East next year. Other free agency news: DeMar DeRozan to the Kings, 3 years, $70 million, and Jordan McLaughlin. Can't scrap that name from the news.
I like him.
I guess. Let's get to that, and then we'll quickly do like a dot point list of the other remaining free agency news. But to this one, it's more spicy, more fun, less threatening in that it's just like news emerging out of the West, and then we've definitely got the final demise of whatever the Bulls were at this point in time. And if nothing else, it's like, okay, 4 guaranteed wins for the C's this year because like we'll play the Bulls 4 times, and they're just absolutely unquestionably dog shit now. And DeMar's headed west to Sacramento.
That's hilarious.
Thoughts on this one?
Well, I had not thought about the spin to help the Celtics in that perspective. Easier wins. That's awesome. Hopefully they're in our in-season tournament pool again.
Yeah.
Not that it mattered because we still smoked them by 20 points to secure the entry into the tournament. I like it more for the Bulls just because like finally they're tanking. Because like I don't think this really pushes Sacramento into anywhere that's serious. But he's a really good player, man. I think he's probably become underrated at this point. It's a weird fit, though, because he doesn't really shoot threes and Sabonis doesn't shoot threes. De'Aaron Fox shoots threes, but like he's not spacing the court in the way that some other guys do. So it's a weird fit, but he's really good. So like they definitely upgraded the talent because they didn't really give up a ton. Like Harrison, actually really like it for the Spurs to get Harrison Barnes in the door because they don't have NBA players. So you have Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, and Wemby and Devin Vassell as like a 4 that all make sense, plus whoever. So I actually like it probably the most for the Bulls and the Spurs, and the Kings is like more just very interesting from a basketball experiment perspective. Like I'm very interested to see how it works on the court. They're a very creative offense, Sacramento. So like Mike Brown's been pretty good offensively for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. But yeah, I'm interested to say at least.
It's definitely interesting. It feels like it adds a degree of difficulty to Fox and Sabonis pick and rolls, which like they need space to operate, and DeRozan does not give you that. And then to get the best out of DeRozan, you're taking the ball out of Fox's hands, and at this point, Fox is just a better player, I think. So I kind of don't get in 3 years, $70 million. Like, what's DeRozan, 35? He's the 2009 draft, man. Like, he's been around for 15 years. Like, those last 2 years could be not great. They might be, one of them might be non-guaranteed though. I didn't check the details of the contract, but I guess if you're the Kings, sometimes you just got to go out and get talent and see what happens, and maybe this will work wonderfully. I'm very skeptical of that, but regardless, Jordan McLaughlin, I think, is the real gem of the pickup for the Kings, though. Just a great third.
Another bald legend.
Yeah, that's right. Another bald legend. I think the Spurs got like 3 firsts. They gave up a first, I think. Somebody else's and got 3 in this deal or something crazy like that. The details, it was a pretty complicated deal, so I'm kind of weak on the details, but the Spurs seem to have come out great, and the Bulls, they just had to move on. It's just time. They gotta find a way to get off LaVine too. I don't know if they'll be able to, but it makes sense that they just had to go in a different direction. And the Kings will certainly be an interesting team to watch next year. I could see this going pretty badly for them though.
Yeah, the Spurs roster makes so much more sense from a spacing perspective, which is like the first question anyone should be asking themselves when a newly constructed roster is formed. And yeah, you've got a nice amount of talent there in Sacramento, but yeah, construction-wise, spacing-wise, on the court, chemistry-wise, the Spurs, I'm so excited to watch them. Like if Chris Paul could stay healthy, because I just think that's going to be such an interesting team. And like Chris Paul, Wemby, pick and rolls, and now you've got that outlet to Harrison Barnes on the wing. That's going to be fun. But let me just rattle off a few of these other news items. And you mentioned Harrison Barnes, so there's really only 2 more. And like there's a lot that's been happening, but obviously we sort of nitpick what we talk about on this show. But LeBron James, 2-year deal per sources, not our sources. This is from Shams. $101.3 million, almost $3 million less than his $104 million max, placing the Lakers below the second apron. And then Dario Saric to the Nuggets, 2 years, $10.6 million, which I don't think really plugs the KCP hole there in Denver, but does give them like a better spacing alternative, like maybe to Aaron Gordon, for example. Obviously, it doesn't come close to replacing the on-the-court chemistry that Aaron Gordon has with Jokic, but it's just a different look and more diversity at the 4 spot there for Denver. So I think that's a pretty solid move for them.
Huge pickup. He's like baby Jokic off the bench now for them to run those second units. But the bigger news, Saric and Ivica Zubac got in a bar fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Dario got taken down, yeah. So how can you let that happen as a 6'9" NBA guy? Come on, man. You got to stay on your feet. But I like that for Denver. There's a few guys that are still in the wind that like someone like if they can get Gary Trent Jr., that to me would like make me feel a whole lot better about the Nuggets if they were able to, because there's 2 teams that have cap space left, the Pistons and is it the Spurs? I think it's and then all there is left after that is versions of mid-level exceptions. So like, I don't know, whoever told O'Shea to turn down the Celtics in hopes of non-minimum money, that's not looking good for him right now. Like all these wings like didn't get paid. Najee, except for Tobias Harris, of course, he always gets paid.
I'd rather have Najee Marshall than Tobias
absolutely.
Harris. Yeah, it's crazy. I just think we really need to recognize the LeBron James and his charity. LeBron giving up $3 million of his $101 million contract to keep the Lakers under the second apron. Just like, what a beacon of hope in this dark, dark world. So thank you from all of us, LeBron. That was beautiful.
Yeah, huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's why he's the chosen one.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, look, we're crazy over time here, so let's wrap up on this. Brian Robb had this for masslive.com, and I've done my best to summarize it. But basically, Wyc Grousbeck discussed the impending sale of their majority ownership stake in the Boston Celtics on CNBC's Closing Bell show, and he clarified that the ownership stake is primarily held by his family, the Grousbeck family, not himself personally. And more recently, there's been discussions about estate planning and family planning and that kind of thing, which sounds like that's kind of been, there's undertones of that being the catalyst for this sale. And Wyc outlined that the sale would occur in two parts. 51% of the stake would be sold quite soon, with the remaining 49% to be sold by 2028 sometime. And he intends to stay on as governor until 2028, which was already reported. Wyc also said, quote, the expectation is to sell the team in two parts, 51%, which I just said, and 49%, then closing in a second closing that the expectation is in 2028. Sorry, I've just completely botched my notes there. He also emphasized, I want to say that that's the expectation going into this process. I would love that to happen, and we will see how and when that plays out in the future going from here, which is a little bit vague. He also acknowledged that the current co-owner, Steve Pagliuca's Pags, as we know him, role in the bidding process, but did not comment on other potential buyers like Red Sox owner John Henry. He assured that the new ownership would uphold the Celtics' proud legacy. So a little bit more context behind the sale, I suppose, and like just how that's going to be chop and changed. And a quick nod, a tip of the cap to Pags. But I don't know, do you guys take anything new from that we didn't already know?
It's also not clear if he means 51% of the overall team or 51% of his own stake.
His stake, yeah.
So like, there's like an actual clip I watched right before we hopped on, and I don't think we really got a ton out of that. Yeah, it was pretty vague. I still thought, and I guess I still feel confident though that he's going to try and put it in the right hands. Would be my takeaway. Like he's trying to do the PR blitz by going on and talking about it, and kind of ended his little interview by saying we want to make sure the person who takes over is proud to hand it over to whoever. So I'm still hopeful from that perspective. Hopefully it is just his stake, which makes it easier for someone like Pags to buy. Like if it's 51% of his own stake, that's like $3 billion as opposed to $6 billion or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I know how any of that works.
Yeah, this is what Cuban did, right? He sold 51 of his stake, hit 51.
Yeah.
I think he was the full owner. He sold 51, and then I think he's going to sell the 49 later. So apparently this is a common rich guy tactic. But yeah, I hope that comment about these are the people we're going to be proud to hand it off to is in specific reference to John Henry, and I hope to God he does not sell it to John Henry because fuck that guy. But regardless, hopefully it's Pags or some, rich guy ownership who appoints Pags to run the team, but we'll see. Can Wyc, because I think his dad has all the money, which
Correct.
is why he probably doesn't want to sell, but his dad's like, nah, it's time, man. We got to make this right. I wonder if he'll buy back in a few years. I don't know, because he's going to stands to inherit a very large sum of money. So that's probably something to watch as well as in 5-10 years, maybe it's this same ownership group or Wyc and Pags back at it again.
I watched Game 5 yesterday and the trophy presentation and stuff, and now that know that the Pags has put his hand up, he's sitting next to Wyc on the sideline, and then they win the championship. Wyc gets to be the first one and raises the trophy, and Pags is right there, and he can't Pags he's just he's right there. He's kind of and so Pags is here. Pags is also part of the team, but you have to think that he's going to want really badly to be Wick. Like, if you've been so close to being the guy for so long, and you've tried to buy the Nets previously, I have to think he's going to do everything in his power to be the guy that gets this done.
Yep.
Pags will openly welcome you as our replacement Wick. Let's wrap it up there. Spoonie and Jake, the next time I talk to you guys, it's going to be in person.
Let's
in
go.
Las Vegas. The next time we do a podcast, it's also going to be in person for the very first time in the 6-year history of the show. That'll be on, I guess, we'll make plans once we land, but I think it'll be on the 12th of July at a time to be announced. So, gentlemen, safe travels. I'll see you on the other side. Have you got something in mind, like first thing you're going to do when you land in Vegas? Get a drink?
Get a drink. Chick-fil-A, maybe. I don't know. Straight to it. Chicken sandwich, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be beer, probably multiple.
Yeah.
And then probably hit you guys up and be like, where are we going? What are we doing,
dude.
fellas?
Yeah.
Let's go get some food. Let's hit Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Folks in the chat, we see you. We love you. Likewise, everyone watching or listening later, thanks for hanging out with us. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celts.